Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to Edgerunners HQ and Night City Sofa, our talk show about the TTRPG Cyberpunk RED by our Talsorian Games. You can find Edgerunners HQ over on Twitch, YouTube, Blue Sky, and Patreon. Almost said Bluetooth. That's not quite right.
You can find it on Bluetooth.
Maybe.
Just put on pairing mode and eventually you'll find us.
There you go. I am Jess, I'm here with games, and if you're new to the channel or the show, please feel free to post comments and questions. We'll do our best to answer them when we can.
Or if you're old to the show, post comments and questions. We'll still answer them.
Yeah, I just assume you guys know this.
It's not just for new people.
It's not just for new people. I just assume that our those of you who've been here before, you are aware that you can post comments and questions.
No, if you've been here even once, you're not allowed to talk.
Done.
Chat.
No engagement. Tonight we are continuing our in-depth look into the missions of Cyberpunk RED's complete street-level campaign, Tales of the Red, Hope Reborn. If you're looking for an overview of the campaign without spoilers, that video is on the YouTube playlist, so you can go and check that out. If you're a player, you don't want, you're concerned about getting information, that video totally safe for you. In our previous videos, we have looked at the first 4 missions, and for this episode, our 5 missions, the first 5 missions. Yes, not 4, 5. This episode, we're looking into the final mission, Ripping the Ripper. If you're a player, please stop watching here. Mute it. I mean, keep watching. That's a lie. Keep watching. Just mute it so that the algorithm likes us.
Engagement.
Please hit the like button and subscribe
and
if you're not
subscribed. And then occasionally type things into chat.
Yeah. GMs, this is a long one. This is another real long one. So, buckle in. Grab a drink. Grab some snacks.
Make sure it's a stiff drink because there's some stuff this time.
Yeah, we have some content warnings per the book. So, like, on the side, there's the little, extra little bits, and there's content warning for body horror and cruel exploitation for this mission specifically. So, there are descriptions of Ripper's experiments, history of the diggers that might twist the stomach of players. If that ever becomes a problem for your table, it's a game that's supposed to be fun for everybody, so just, pull back. You don't have to. If they're like, we don't want descriptions.
Yeah, be less descriptive.
Yeah, if this is a veil or a hard line, just don't talk about it.
Yep. It's funny, though. We were talking before the show, and both of us were like, with the disclaimer in the book, we expected it to be a lot more hardcore than it was. Because of the expectations our GM has set for us.
Yeah. Yeah. If you have a GM that's pretty graphic about gruesome stuff, you'll be pleasantly surprised. If you have a GM...
Walk in the park.
Yeah, if you're a GM that doesn't give those kinds of descriptions, maybe content warning. Now, Ripping the Ripper is written by Francis Stewart, so this may take 6 to 8 hours of playtime. I feel like depending on how this mission goes...
Depending on your path.
8 hours, it could easily go to 12. I'm saying it could easily go 3 sessions. Depending on options.
I think you could easily do it within the 6, though, too. Depending on the path you take.
Yep. I think it could go more than 2, though, if everything goes sideways. As always, you got your table.
Which it will.
You've got your table of contents. You've got your beat chart, which looks bigger than it perhaps maybe, and your list of rumors.
It is so intimidating.
I
saw the beat chart on this one, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Yes. Now the beat chart, it's mostly like. And Jay did a great job laying it out so it all fits on the page, but it's really like side A, side B. And for the most part, you'll probably only be working with one of those columns. But they are modular, and your players may choose to change it up, in which case they may go to the other column, or back and forth.
They might have to.
So,
yeah.
We'll talk about that. I still think it's good to read all of it ahead of time, so that you as a GM know what's coming, and especially depending on what your player's strengths and weaknesses are, know which path to maybe encourage them towards.
Yeah.
Now, overall, the mission itself is fairly simple. Thanks to Harry the
Super
Shrimp,
simple.
Marianne and the Professor finally know who attacked their old home. Ripper. Ripper is a Maelstrom member in charge of the Maelstrom Hot Zone scavenging operation. Now, the crew is given some information about how cruel Ripper is to the scavengers he recruits, whom he calls diggers. It's explained that he attempted to recruit some 4th Corporate War vets that were squatting in a co-op ruin, and then Mary and the Professor helped get those people out into hopefully a better life, and Ripper took it personally. One of the people they saved is Valance, who is the server from the very start of the mission. They were the one with, like, plot armor.
There was a reason.
Now you know. But yeah, so Ripper got upset, and he decided to demolish the Hope because of that, in retaliation. So what Marianne wants now is revenge. But she doesn't want the new Hope destroyed, so you can't let it come back to you for, like, the 3rd time, right? Otherwise, all your hard work that you've been doing up to this point is completely useless. But essentially, Ripper needs to die. That's the mission. The mission is kill Ripper.
Yep.
Don't
Just
let
kill
it.
Ripper.
Don't let it come back to the Hope.
Yep.
Now, even though he's in charge of Maelstrom's scavenging operations, if Warlock actually found out that, one, Ripper is coming off the top and selling to Rockland Augmentics directly, he would go after Ripper. So that's one way you can do it. Also, if anybody found out about the cruelty that's Ripper's going on, other people will take Ripper out. And, like, it doesn't have to be you necessarily. You could just...
Even for a Maelstrom member, the shit that Ripper is doing is not acceptable.
It's considered cyber psychos, but at least cyber psychos don't have control.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's serial killer level stuff. So, no. No. Now, Marianne is going to pay $4,000 per person. Now, this is a dangerous job. Typically, that's $2,000 per person. She is doubling it because that's how badly she wants Ripper dead. The crew has 2 options. They can flatline Ripper themselves. Either, likely in the hot zone, because when you're in the hot zone, nobody's going to know. Nobody's going to rat you out. You can do it safely without anybody being the wiser of who did it. And if Ripper goes missing in the hot zone, shit happens all the time. The second option is if you want to pull a con, in which case Harry will teach the crew the con, the Busan backdoor. And that exploits Ripper's greed, and they in turn get Rockland Augmentics to pull the trigger. So it's really up to your crew. If your crew is super combat oriented, hot zone, go kill. If your crew is very social and, like, heisty inclined, con job.
Oh, can I mention something before we continue on that?
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning of this, when they had the rumors that you can have, most of those rumors are really good for your players to have. I think there was only one that I was like, this is stupid. But the rest of them, I was like, oh, this is impactful to the story.
Looking at the rumors, there's 2 that were about your past job. Like the...
Yeah.
One about what's actually happening for Warlock and Ripper. The Muses, which is absolutely... I mean, you care because you care about the Muses, but it's an absolutely useless rumor.
Right.
Something about Rockland Augmentics' internal agents, and then a little bit about the hot zone. Yeah. Which one did you find useless?
The one about the Muses.
The roller derby one? Yeah. I feel like that's just one of those things where it's like, if your crew really, like, bonded with Calliope and the Muses, it's a rumor to give them so that they can be like, aww. Let's go party.
We're gonna put them through rehab so they do better next season.
Now, so combat versus con, there are moments, like it's modular, where if the crew starts going down one path and they're like, man, we've either borked this or this is not what we thought it would be, we want to go to the other path, they can do that. You can switch paths pretty much at any point up until like 3/4 of the way through.
My path is a little less forgiving. You can basically jump off of the con path into the combat path at any point, more or less. You can't really leave the combat path to go, you know what? I know we've done half of this, but let's turn around and try to do it.
I think you can. I think it depends, but I'll mention that as you get through your moments.
Yeah. Alright, so first we're going to deal with the combat side of things. Which
by
is
the
not
way,
the way the book does it.
I was supposed to say that.
But we wanted to, because the con side of it is a little more intricate, we wanted to start with the combat side of it and then go back to the con side of it. So, basically, if you want to do the combat side of it, it's called Bullets Are Simpler. Valance is willing to help you get to the hideout, which is in the hot zone, and they give you a list of things that you're going to need. They're masks and breathers, and they want you to tape your pants inside your boots, and you have to have good boots because there's monofiber dust all over the place, and blah, 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 blah. A lot of safety gear that is very necessary, but you're going to continually get radiation.
I think it's like, we're going to give you an in-depth review of this. Here's a list, and blah, 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 blah.
Well, the other things I'm skipping are like flashlights and radio communicators, because, and we learned this a lot more in 2045, the source book, but the reason is because there isn't really communication. Your agent isn't going to work out here very well. In fact, it says if you want to use your agent, you need to roll a d6, and on a 6, it might work.
No.
But Marianne is willing to sell you rad suits, which is awesome and amazing. They're pretty expensive, 500 EB, but if you take any damage that would ablate your armor, they are now useless. It is as if you are not wearing a rad suit. So, that's what it says.
Is it?
Yep, if the Edgerunner takes enough damage to ablate their armor, the rad suit becomes worthless.
There you go. That's fair.
Yep. But, so you gather these things the next morning. You all gather together, and Valance is going to take you into the tunnels to get into the hot zone, because this is the best way there. There aren't a lot of good ways in and out of the hot zone, and there's even fewer safe ways to do it. Basically, the overland route isn't an option. There are a lot of problems that you're going to run into here, though. Once you get out of the tunnel and into the actual hot zone itself, the GM is going to roll 3 times, up to 3 times, on the hot zone hazard list. Or you can always pick things, because some things work a lot better than other things. But there are things like sinkholes and pitfalls, which are basically things opening up beneath you and you have to try to get out. And with both of those, if you fail at the reflex check, which is fairly easy to 17 / 15, then you're going to take a lot of damage in the fall, and it's going to be harder to get out. The pitfall does 66 damage, and the sinkhole does... I don't remember what it was. It's less damage, though. But if you have a grappling hook, you can automatically succeed at both of those. And then there's like carbon fiber splinters, which are going to ablate your boots no matter what, by 1, if you have to walk through them, because it's little monofilament stuff on the ground everywhere that's just tearing up your shoes. If you're not wearing shoes, it does 3d6 damage, which is awesome. And then you have ash storms, radioactive winds, and, most importantly, occasionally there's roving bands of blood swarms that were still left over from the Fourth Corporate War. So they're little nanobots that fly around and just kill things. And I can say from personal experience, they suck. So once you get out into the hot zone and you're trying to travel to the building, you're going to roll up to 3 of these, depending on how the players are doing. You want to make this section of it hazardous. You don't necessarily want to kill them, but you want to, soften them up a little bit.
Now, see?
And then you run in...
Hang on. Here's the thing, right? This is obstacle 1, which is really 3, but obstacle 1. If your players fare horribly and they are taking so much damage, they might be like, fuck this place, we're gonna go do the con job. So this is moment 1 where I was like...
This, you can still turn around here.
I was like, you know what, technically on your combat, I know what you're thinking about, where they're like, you can't really leave, but I'm like, oh no, there's moments. If this fucks them up so bad, I can see them being like, no, screw this, let's try the other way first.
The next one is the big one that I would consider turning around at.
See? This is next too.
Yeah, so the next point is the cliffhanger slip. And basically, as you're wandering through the rubble, Valence yells the word slip, and everyone tries to react, but it is fairly difficult. Perception 17 check to notice. But a building above you has started to collapse and is now raining debris on you that could very easily kill you. You roll on the d6 table and you get small chunks of debris, which is like pieces of cement, chairs, and that does 2d6 damage. Or a 3 through 4 is a sharp thing, like rebar or a chunk of glass doing 3d6 damage. And armor, it's armor penetrating, so it halves your SP and does 2 points of ablation instead of 1. Or big chunks, which is like desks and toilets, which do 4d6, or holy crap, that's big, like a refrigerator or an executive's desk, or maybe even an AV. It does 66 damage.
A piece of an AV.
This is just falling out of... Yeah, this is just falling out of the sky and landing on your characters if you didn't notice that it was happening.
Or your reaction was too slow
to
to get out of the way.
Right, which isn't the easiest thing in the world in the first place, because it's an evasion 17 check if you noticed.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's intense.
Yeah, if you go through the obstacles and you took some damage, and then you got here and took a lot of damage, your crew might be like, nah.
We're turning around, we're doing the con job. Alright, next up, you stop in the shadow.
I will say, I do like the image of a refrigerator just coming down and, like, nailing someone completely head on.
Standing right next to you.
Yeah. Like, I know it's supposed to be one of those, like, super scary tense moments, but it's, like, one of those, like, funny during horror things, where it's, like, poof, they just get taken out by a fridge.
Right. Like the lead character from, what was it? Dead Like Me. She is killed because a toilet seat falls off the space station as it's breaking up and lands on her and kills her, and that's the opening of the TV series. It'd be a terrible way to go.
Yeah.
But alright, so next up you guys find yourself in the shadow of the Ashcroft building. And at this point, Valence says, nope, I'm not going any further. This is as far as I go. And guess what? Ripper's on the top floor because he wants to be above the diggers. So good luck with it. When I read this section, which I might add that, like, all the authors always do a fantastic job with their descriptive text and stuff like that, but particularly in a few of these moments, they're done so vividly. It was amazing.
Oh yeah. Great job.
But so when I read this, I was thinking, like, when you're playing Fallout 3, those collapsed buildings that are all like half sideways and stuff like that you can try to climb. That's more or less what I saw here.
Okay.
You can find a way to scurry up the first few floors of it from the outside, which is what you're going to have to do. And if you use a spot check 13, you can spot guards patrolling on the 7th floor. But yeah, otherwise not a huge deal. And then...
Well,
sorry, you have to go up...
Kind of a huge deal if you don't see them.
What? Well, I'll explain that in a minute.
Okay.
Because you run into... This is where you run into outcomes that can occur. So basically, you crawl up to the point that you can, and then you run into 2 digger guards on the 7th floor. You have a lot of options here. If they notice you trying to get up there, they're going to come out and attack you. Or raise an alarm, but probably just come out and attack you, actually, is the way it ends up. If they don't notice you, and you manage to get up to the 7th floor, those will be the only 2 guards on the 7th floor, which is amazing. Now, if they did notice you and come out and attack you, then when you go in there, you're ambushed by all the rest of the guards that were on the 8th floor and are now on the 7th floor. If they didn't notice you and you make it in and they're the only 2 guards, then there's really loud metal music playing, but the floor above you is full of guards also. All the guards that you would have fought on the 7th floor are now in the 8th floor, but at least they're not there to ambush you this time. So, that's getting into the building at this point, is you're going to have a firefight on the 7th floor, whether it be through the ambush or with the 2 guards. What was that about?
I would say you don't necessarily, it doesn't need to be a firefight if there's only 2.
Right, that's true. Hopefully it doesn't turn into a firefight, because then they can alert the people above. But yeah, something interesting about once you make it into the East Wing, which is where your introduction on the 7th floor is, the building is mostly sideways, and so you're going to take a movement penalty. Each movement is halved, so it takes 2 movement to move 1 square instead of 1, and any physical checks you make are at a -1, unless you're on one of the even platforms that are on the map. You are going to be taking these penalties. The bad guys are used to this building being tilted, so they're not going to take the -1 to the physical actions, but they're still going to take the half as much movement, because that's just how it goes.
It's difficult terrain.
Yeah. Now, as to those guards that may be in this room and maybe in the floor above this, there are a number of guards equal to number of players, and they're just basic digger guards. They are not all that complicated, and your characters should be able to take them fairly easily, hopefully. There's a great map on the thing of the layout of this room, and I loved it. Some other notes about this area is that if you choose to use explosives anywhere in the old Ashcroft building, you can do it, but the whole building shakes and wobbles a little bit. If you use explosive 10 times, the building starts collapsing. Give the crew 1 minute to devise an exit strategy and execute it. That's it. The building is going to collapse if you use explosives. Please don't. But, let them do it once and then be like, hey, maybe grenades are a bad idea.
I suppose that is a way that they could, in theory, take out Digger. I mean, ideally, you should probably
set some
be
C6 around the base
in
of the
building while you're demolishing it, but
yeah, you will succeed that way, I suppose. The guards here, however, they're not willing to fight to the death. They have lives. They would love to go home to their wives. DV-17 social check, and you can convince them to stand down. If you cut a deal with them, they'll warn you not to make too much noise, because Skippy will find you, and you don't want Skippy to find you. But, you know, if you choose to fight them, that's fine. If you convince them not to, they will happily leave. Then you have to cross the bridge between the East Wing and the West Wing. And the bridge is a narrow walkway between the two areas of wreckage. And it says that you should make the players do athletic checks while crossing it. But even on a completely botched athletics check, make them wobble, make them almost fall, but do not throw a player off of a building and kill them directly before fighting the final boss. That would be pointless. This area is to get their blood pumping, not to murder people. And I really appreciate that, because it gives you that illusion of suspense without there being the chance of them falling to their death. Like, I love the belief that, like, you don't make somebody roll unless there is an outcome, like, you're okay with them failing at this, because then you reduce the number of, you're not making them roll for useless things. But for this, the outcome is that you're creating suspense. Even on a failed check, you can have them wobble, and then maybe somebody else tries to catch them, or they, you know, this or that, but it very clearly says, do not throw anybody off the building at this point.
I feel like it's one of those moments where, you know, if they botch it so bad, it's like whatever debris is on the, like, part of the bridge, their foot falls through. You know, like, they catch themselves on their other knee. It's not like the whole spot. It's just like, you see that in movies all the time, right? Where just the foot falls through, and there's that moment where you're like, oh god. But it's like, nope, your foot just fell through. You can perfectly get up and walk. And, like, it's just a hole for your foot. Yeah. But that's what it is. It's that tension, that freak out of, oh my god. It's like, keep going.
Right. Now, once they cross the bridge, they enter the maze. And the maze is a terrible place. Basically, Ripper was worried about people coming to attack them. So they've created a maze of rusty old metal that leads you into all these tight corridors and things like that. And there are cameras in here, and there is also Skippy in here, which is a problem. There are, however, secret passageways that Ripper uses to easily get through the maze. If your characters would like to try to find them, it is a 21 DV to try to see them. If you can manage to see them, awesome. You can go through the maze much quicker and easier. But yeah, 21's pretty high. That's almost epic levels of stuff, so good luck with it. Our friend Skippy. Skippy she has been biomodded, but, like, not cleanly and not in good ways. And she is a good dog. And she loves Ripper and will fight to the death no matter what. It will end in either you dying or her dying. Skippy has a 16 to stealth. Skippy has a very high body. I think it's a 12. I would have to check, but I think it's a 12. And a very high dexterity. They also like to turn off the lights in the maze while you're in it. Skippy is intense. This is probably one of the harder battles in this. I would say Skippy is a harder battle to fight than even basic Ripper. But you have two options of Ripper, which we'll get to in a minute. But basic Ripper, I would say, is less of a problem in my mind than Skippy is. But if you can make it through the deadly maze and make it past Skippy, you can make it to the Ripper's man cave. The Ripper's man cave is the west wing of the building, which
Sorry, I just wanted to know before we go out of the maze. Because Skippy can turn off the lights, if you don't have anything to see in the dark, it's at a -4 perception to see anything. Even if you do have low light, you're still at a -1, which makes that DV21 to see secret doors that much harder. So if Skippy has noticed you with their high stealth, they could just go through a secret door behind you and you would maybe never see them. Which just adds to the terror that is Skippy.
They do know where all of those doors are.
Sorry, yeah. I just wanted to know that.
And this battle should be creepy and it should be intense.
because essentially a 21 at a
Yeah,
-4
thank you
penalty
for pointing that out.
becomes a 25. So,
right.
good luck.
Good luck with it.
And if I recall, because Skippy is at the entranceway, if you do manage to stealth through, there is no avoiding Skippy.
Yeah. Nope. The way it works out, and this is actually an interesting thing with Ripper also, depending on how, and even the ambush with the diggers, is depending on how the players act is where those things occur. And Skippy, no matter what, you're going to run into them, whether it be in the maze or if you're able to stealth through the maze that's at the end of the maze, you're going to run into Skippy. That's going to be a thing. And then depending on whether or not Ripper's been alerted is what room you find Ripper in upstairs here in just a moment. So,
by the way, I would say entering this tower is my, like, you probably cannot go back to the other drop from
this is the red line. Once you've gotten to the 7th floor, you're like... Because I think you can get to the point that you can observe, like, the two guys up on the 7th floor and then be like, you know what? Let's turn around.
Yeah, that's a tall, rickety, terrifying building. Maybe no. But yeah, I agree. At that point, once you are in this building, I would say that is your point of no return.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, now that we're at the man cave, I will explain a brief overview of the lots of rooms, because there are a lot of rooms here. I won't go into a lot of details, but I'll hit some key moments. But I do want to say there are two options for Ripper. There's regular Ripper, and there's boss Ripper. Pretty much the same. The big difference is that one has the swarm things in it, and the other does not. So those are your two options if you want to make it slightly harder for the characters. It also says that if you want to make the final battle even harder, you can put auto turrets in whatever room that they fight Ripper in. I'm not entirely sure it's necessary to do that, but I guess if you're playing with a whole bunch of combat monsters and you want to amp it up, that would be a good option. There are some places before I didn't mention, but like in the maze, you can try to hack the cameras and turn them off and stuff like that to make your life easier. And there will be a little more hacking that you can do here in a little bit, but this is not really a net architecture area. There's only really the two. But anyway, so once you get into the Ripper's Man Cave, which is the west wing of the old Ashcroft building, it is full of old tech, old BioWare and things like that, cyberware. Like the entrance smells like kibble, stale smoke, and something underneath it all, rot. Through this whole area, you're hearing this metal music playing. If your characters want to try to... oh, it's not this area. I was thinking of a different area where they can replenish their stuff. It must be... Oh, it's in the escape hatch, I think. Next up is Ripper's Escape Hatch, which is a large warehouse-style room that is stuffed full of grungy old hard foam and metal crates that are all overflowing with out-of-date and terrible cyber tech. A Perception 15 reveals that there is nothing of value in this room. Perception 17 or higher lets you know that none of this has really been moved in a long time. And if you're able to look around behind it, you'll see why. There is an arrow lift that basically is an escape method that would have originally been used to move crates up and down the building, but now is more of a escape elevator for Ripper should things become necessary. If you look around for traps, a DV-13 will let you know that there are demolition charges on the arrow lift, and if you turn on the arrow lift, after 1 minute the demolition charges are going to go off, which creates a lot of problems. You have the option of trying to disable them, which is fairly easy. It's a Demolition 13, I think. If you want to transfer the fuse to be a radio fuse.
Remote activated.
That's a DV15. Yeah, radio activated. No, that's a 17 to do that. And it does note, once again, not to try to attach it to agents because your agents do not work here. They're not reliable enough that that's going to work out in your favor. And then there's also the storage room. The storage room is just full of kibble and ammo and clothes and tools and parts and things like that. There's nothing of high value that is necessary for your characters. It does say you can swap out any damaged armor that you have on you for the same type of armor. And you can grab as much as 2 extra clips of ammo per weapon here. So this is just a little restock area for you. And if you're poor enough, I guess you could steal some kibble, but it doesn't say anything about that.
Well, it's nice that they just even give you a way to replenish your armor and ammo.
Right, which almost never happens in these stories. It's never like, hey, you're about to go into a boss, let's stock you up on ammo.
Yep.
Though that would terrify me as somebody who plays video games. Anytime I'm playing a game and it's like, hey, here's a whole bunch of ammo, I'm like, oh no.
Especially after you just got through a mini-boss, right? Like...
Yeah.
Where was this before
Going
Skippy?
straight back into it, aren't I? Next up, there's Ripper's bedroom. And even though the windows have been boarded up in here, there's still green velvet curtains and like this plush like luxury, and there's a king-size bed and like exotic wood bed frame, and it's covered in ultralux sheets, and it's got armoires, and like it is so nice in this room. A DV15 reveals that you can find a laptop computer, and if you do a 17 Alexec, you can find out that the Ripper kept surprisingly good notes on all of their experiments that they've done. And if you're using the boss version of Ripper, that check can also be the hint that lets them know that they have the nanoswarm incubator. It's the only note as to him having it anywhere. The bathroom, it's a really nice bathroom. That is all there is to say about it.
No, there's also...
It is a marble bathroom.
In the laptop, there's one more thing.
Oh, about him working with Rockland Augmentics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like if you've gone to this
I forgot
point,
about that.
I suppose you could gather this information, and then you're like, oh, this is the information, we could give it to Warlock. At this point, though, why you would leave here? Unless you guys are
There's
really
actually a good reason.
low health. But you could,
and
at
I
this
will
point...
say at the end, there's actually a good reason to have this information.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you could take this information and go to Warlock and then let Warlock deal with Ripper. But I feel like if you have climbed this tower and you have gone through all of this, unless you're super low health, I don't see your players backing away and being like, here's the information we need, goodbye.
Yay! We're out.
Yeah.
Alright, bathroom. It's a nice bathroom. Don't drink the water, though. Still full of radiation because you were in the hot zone. The meeting room. It's got a big screen TV and some brain dances and a classic console, video game console sitting here that's worth 1,000 EB, complete collector's item. Jess raised a really good point on this, though, that, like, just the brain dance things are worth more than 1,000 EB, so that feels like it should probably be worth more.
Yeah, the reason 1,000 each,
there's
I
a
feel
store-
like you could up the
Right.
console to something higher, but it's going to be harder to fence.
Yeah, I think that would be the better way to do it, because if this is a genuine collector's item, which it states it is, if you found the right market, this could be worth a lot.
Yeah, but finding that right market or
So.
that right person
Is the trick.
is the trick.
Next up, there's the storeroom, and in the storeroom, it's full of crates of really good tech parts. So full of good tech parts that it has 5,000 EB worth of tech parts in here, which is awesome. One carryall, however, only carries 500 EB of tech parts, so you would need 10 carryalls to carry all of this out, or to come back here several times, assuming that you don't collapse the place. And like to hang out in the hot zone.
Yeah.
Next up is the Ripper's Dungeon, which what do you think this room used to be? Because it says lounge area, but like the way it describes it, it says that there's an old like broken grand piano in this room. Mm-hmm. Like this feels like a hotel lobby area. Like
lobby,
it's a big open area.
There might have been a bar at one point where you could like sit, have drinks, listen to someone play, or like or dance.
Sure. Not so much anymore. No. There are 2 metal embalming tables that have liquid channels so that blood can be drained out of people. This is by the way, the beginning of the content warning on this one. Against the wall there is a workbench with tools on it. Things that are like, pliers and vices and things like that. There is also a skull that is made out of handprints, bloody handprints, and this is implied more than it is said, but because it says that the last handprint on it, the most fresh one, is from Dust Bunny, who we'll describe in a moment, but this is apparently, these 24 bloody handprints are the 24 victims that Ripper's been doing experimentation on. So that's fun. That's a fun detail they don't really talk about. In this room is also Largo. Now, Largo is Ripper's personal med tech. But because their body has been so messed up over the years and ruined by living in the hot zone and all of the terrible things that's happened to them, they're basically living in a linear frame that is part life support, part multi-armed surgical robot. And it is on roller wheels, but it kind of needs somebody else to move it around for it. It can't really move on its own. He can't move on his own. I don't know why I'm dehumanizing him, even though there's not much left of him. It still says he. And it's very clear that whereas Largo is a murderer and a torturer and a bad person and very much willingly went along with a lot of this, he is not as twisted and fucked up as Ripper is, and over the years has come to realize that that part of his humanity will not let him do this. He is super easy to convince to be on your side, and he wants to leave, whether that be through a bullet or you taking him out of there. It is vital that he never has to go through another day here. And he is willing to give you any information that he can. He is willing to go to prison.
Yeah, I was going to say, taking him out of the hot zone equals prison, and he's fine with that. Like, that is fine. That is better than being in here.
Yeah. He has 2 doses of speed heal that he is willing to give you, but only willing to give you if he thinks that you're going to help him get out of here. Otherwise, that's not even offered. If asked for information, he'll explain what's going on with Dust Bunny in the next room, which is Ripper's latest experiment. And the experiment is that they are replacing parts, natural parts, with robotic parts, one piece at a time, slowly, over time, without using any anesthetics or therapy or anything else. They're just slowly replacing parts to see what would happen. It's not a pretty picture. There is also the workshop, which is basically the planning room for everything. And it also has the camera banks that show you what's going on in the maze. If your character's turned off the cameras, then it's just showing fuzz. But that's basically what's in this room. There's also an old metal key in here, which is the key to the cage. And the cage is where Dust Bunny is. Dust Bunny is a gaunt male former nomad who was kicked out of his pack and then abducted, and they've been running tests on him since. And he has had his eye replaced. It's just his left eye. It says one eye. 2 fingers on his left hand, 3 fingers on his right hand, and he is in very bad shape. And they really don't care if his body's rejecting cyberware and stuff like that. They're just implanting it. He is barely responsive no matter what you do to try to talk to him. He will not respond to you unless you try to remove him out of the cage, and then he will freak out and start screaming and flailing. You can subdue him and knock him out without even a check. It's an automatic success because he is that frail. Next to the cage is an open elevator shaft, and from it blows a wind of rot and disease and fester, and it is real bad because there are countless corpses that have just been thrown down the elevator shaft as they were done with their experiments. Somewhere in this hangout, you're going to run into Ripper, and it depends on what the characters chose to do, if they've been alerted, if not. So if he has been alerted, he will hide in his bedroom or the meeting room, and he will try to peek through the crack in the door and things like that to see what's going on with the characters. If he thinks he can take them, he will attack them, he will ambush them. If not, he will try to escape. And it is possible that your characters fumble around up here and never find him because he spied on the characters and then escaped. Little anticlimactic for my flavor, but it is very possible. If he wasn't alerted, he's probably in the workshop planning the next evil thing that he's going to do to Dust Bunny. Either way, you have to fight him. He is not easy because he's Maelstrom at the end of the day. But it is not... If it's the not boss version of it, I would say it's slightly easier than the Skippy fight. If it is the boss version, I would say that the boss version is harder. Now, this is what I was going to say about finding the information on the laptop, is that if he does escape, you always have the option of informing NCPD, MaxTech, or even talking to Maelstrom, and they're all more than happy to track him down and kill him after they see what he's been doing with Dust Bunny and all that. Like, this is an automatic death sentence for him. So that information, if you got that information off the laptop, that's one way that you can use that, even though you don't really need to at that point. It is one card that you can have, because it does give you all the evidence of what he's done and all that stuff, and who he's working with, because I'm sure that working with Rockland is going to upset a few people. And once again, it says that if, you thought that the battle is going to be too easy, you can always do the boss level Ripper, and you can throw in some optical advanced automated turrets if you want to. So that's always an option.
I will say too, if your crew is anti-Rockland for any reason, and you have a media in your party,
blow this up,
filming Ripper and saying this is the type of people Rockland work with, could be a huge blow to taking a chunk out of that corporation. I mean, it will also paint a large target on your back. So be careful.
But risk versus reward.
Or, I mean, you could always give it to one of the bigger news stations. You can give it to Network 54, because that's, corp on corp thing. That takes the target off of your back. But you could give it to, Fiona Hayes, who maybe you met during the Hope Calling fight. Be like, hey, we've got a scoop for you. Information.
Right. But yeah, that's pretty much the brute force version of the story right there.
What's the nanoswarm injector do?
The nanoswarm injector, thank you for asking. I don't remember because I didn't read that. I read that part 3 days ago.
It's pretty scary what it does. So I wanted to make sure we went over it. But I don't fully remember, so I was hoping you would.
Yeah, I wish that I remember too. A piece of experimental cyberware created by Rockland Augmetics and implanted in the Ripper for field testing. During the first round of combat, whenever the Ripper's HP is reduced by 10 to 50, 40, 30, etc., the Ripper's body produces two nanobot swarms, one external, a hail swarm, and one internal, a repair swarm. The hail swarm has a movement 5, covers 6 meters of area, and immediately seeks to envelop any viable target in the vicinity. And the hail swarm can survive out of sight of his body for up to 3 rounds. The end of 3 rounds, that they run out of power and rain down from the sky. Anyone who is inside of a swarm takes a -4 penalty to all checks involving vision. They must succeed at a resist torture drug of 17. If they fail, they take 46 damage. And all armor or implants from somebody inside of the swarm is ablated by 1. And then the repair swarm is just fixing him and his armor the entire time.
So he heals.
Though, I will say that if you kill the boss version of it and are able to retrieve this without damaging it too much, you can get 10,000 EB from Rockland.
No, I will say, not without damaging it. It does damage, if I recall correctly. Yeah, it cannot be removed without destroying it beyond.
Oh, it cannot be removed without destroying it.
But it's still worth 10 grand, even destroyed beyond repair.
Yeah.
Because they can still replicate the technology.
Right. So, yeah, the nanoswarm's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, also, like, don't forget that the boss version then also has essentially his own blood swarm that will attack you. And he heals, he regenerates.
And it comes out every 10 damage that he takes. So he can spawn... He has 60 health, so he can spawn 6 blood swarms.
Yep.
That's fun.
Yep. Let's just maybe keep that in mind while you're choosing which version of Ripper you are going to throw at your core players.
Your players, yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about for Bullets or Simpler?
No, that is pretty much that entire path.
Okay.
Like I said before, my notes on the whole thing, the descriptions in several places were amazing. I love the way that they worded things. And it does get a little bit graphic with the torture and murder and just general unhumanity of it all, but I think that if they choose to go the other path, you can avoid a lot of the trigger warning stuff.
Yeah, you can.
So,
apart from cruel treatment,
that's all.
But yeah.
Right.
I will say one more note, and I'm hesitant to bring this up now. I have it in my notes to bring up later, but specifically for the Bullets Are Easier mission. Because your plan is to flatline Ripper. If you owed the gentleman a favor from rescuing Random, before you go into the hot zone, he calls and asks for a favor, which is to retrieve this experimental nano injector tech.
Yep.
Which means they are automatically fighting the harder boss. Because I looked, and the easy boss doesn't have this. So,
nope.
If you have combat monsters and you want to throw them against the more difficult version, also have this call from the gentleman. Which adds a huge extra element if they get through the obstacles and then the thing and want to nope out of this. That's going to be a lot more complicated. Because the con job does not involve actually ideally flattening him. It involves other people flatlining Ripper.
Getting people to do your dirty work.
Yep. So that note is there as well. Okay. So for the con side of this mission, it's much kind of like the Devil's Cut, you're essentially planning sort of kind of a heist, except this time you're planning a trap, right? So you need prep, you need setup. There's a bunch of like pre-work before you actually get to the job itself. The overall scheme is that the crew is going to sell Ripper on a lost cache of pre-Fourth Corporate War cyber tech and trick him into robbing a Rockland Augmentics facility, which of course is going to sour their relationship and force Rockland to hunt Ripper down on your behalf. Ripper won't find refuge at Maelstrom because they're going to kill Ripper for bringing the wrath of a megacorp onto the gang and for skimming off the top. So it's not like he can go run and hide and be like, you know, save me from these people I was screwing you over with. So if he does get away from Rockland, Maelstrom will kill him. Either way, you're kind of in the clear. Now, in order to accomplish this, Harry is going to lay out the plan for the crew. The crew does not have to come up with a plan. Harry's going to tell them the plan. One of the crew members is going to pretend to be an exec, aka the boss, who manages construction crews for Jack Skorkowski. Yes, that Jack. Now, while one of the crew was demolishing an old building in the upper marina, a foreman found a broken old truck in the rubble alongside a crate full of old cyber tech, and a work order telling the driver to pick up the crate from an underground warehouse at an address now located in the hot zone. So that's the story, is, hey, we were doing construction, we happened to stumble upon this, and the work order says that there's more of this shit in the hot zone. Now, the foreman brought it to the boss, who did some investigating, and while you have found a route to the warehouse, you've decided to cut Jack out of the deal, but what you need is a partner who's experienced in salvaging the hot zone. And that's how you're going to get Ripper into this. Of course, you're not actually taking him into the hot zone, you're taking him to the Rockland Augmentics facility. Now, once you're at the facility, the crew can either trap Ripper inside for Rockland to find, or ensure he's caught on camera, so that Rockland goes, oh, he's betraying us, and we'll take him out down the road. So, fairly straightforward, simple, and yet it's not. There's a lot of pieces you gotta handle. First, you have to catch Ripper's attention, so that when they call him later asking for help with this plan, it feels natural. You're not going to cold call him and be like, hey, we heard you do salvage jobs for Maelstrom. We have a gig for you. Now, Ripper frequents the Red Line, which is a gladiatorial combat bar in Watson, where he enjoys booze, drugs, violence, and talking about himself. If you haven't guessed from Games' description of combat, like the combat route, Ripper loves himself. He thinks he's better than everyone. That's why he lives above the Diggers, because he looks down on the Diggers, and this is his domain, and he is very narcissistic. So this is going to be essentially a social encounter, where one or more of the crew are going to have to impress Ripper in order to get his number so they can call him later. Once they've done that, that's when the crew is going to introduce the bait, which is essentially telling Ripper, hey, we found this stuff, we need an experienced person, but to prove that they have found this stuff, they need to actually get a cache of some quality cyber tech and offer it as proof and gesture of good faith. So you're going to need some goods. You're also going to need a map. So once you have those two pieces, you need to lead Ripper through the tunnels under the city and confuse him enough to get him to the warehouse while he thinks he's going to the hot zone. Once you're there, Ripper's Diggers will break through the wall, and that's where you choose whether you trap him or you just make sure he gets caught on camera. Now, since there are a lot of steps to this job, every crew member should play kind of an integral role in one way or the other, so they get a few moments to shine. Now, if they're stuck, the mission gives you ideas. Someone obviously needs to be the boss, the construction exec. They are going to have the biggest role to play. If you have someone at your table who likes to roleplay, but they're not sure, but they kind of want to step into it, maybe encourage them, like, to do this. Obviously, there are some roles that are better suited to being the boss, but, it's always good to, for me personally, to let players at the table have moments and try to take up that spotlight, because succeed or fail, it's a cool story to tell. Now, every good boss has at least one assistant to make them look important, and or take notes, and or be an undercover bodyguard, depending on who the assistant is. If you want to choose your solo to be the assistant, clearly they are an undercover bodyguard. Or maybe he has two.
My assistant's always Cammy, which is a terrible deal.
Two. Sometimes you've had teams. The boss can also bring along hired muscle, which they call a hustle, so that wouldn't be shocking. Now, a guide can be brought in by the boss to lead through the tunnels. The boss can bring an expert to evaluate the cyber tech, so they know which is the best stuff to take and which, to leave behind. And finally, there's backup, which only gets called in if problems arise. So, if you have a player that frequently can't attend sessions, maybe make them the backup. Otherwise, to give everybody a moment to shine, don't do backup. You have enough options there with the boss, the assistant, muscle, guide, expert. That's 5 roles all on its own. You should be fine. Once the crew has decided their parts, also, you're going to need the right clothing to play those parts, and the book does say, which is really, really nice, which fashion styles are going to pass, and what DV you need to wardrobe style to look the part. Then you
which is amazing.
Yeah. Then you can get to the meat. Because if you want to pretend that you are the boss of a construction zone and you're going to wear a bag lady chic, it ain't gonna fly. It's just not. Now, the meat is just to meet Ripper, but you need to leave an impression enough for his drug-addled mind to remember who the boss is, right? To do that, you have to impress him 3 times. Now, 2 of those 3 can be simple social checks, so either persuasion, conversation, any type of social check. He does respond well to compliments, philosophical ramblings about weird cult shit. It talks about the fights that are happening below, and the possibility of sex. So if you want to try to barge your way through this, you can do that.
It's how to woo him.
You could try to woo Ripper. He responds poorly to people who act superior to him. So maybe don't try to don't talk down to him. That's not gonna go well. I think there was a couple other things in the book, but that was kind of the big one.
He'll remember you, but not for the right reasons.
Yeah, you will not impress him enough to get his number. Now, if you want a way for your crew to know this, they can just sit around the red line and listen. Ripper talks. Ripper is loud. And while he has a group of people who hang on, he will talk over them if they're talking about anything that is not of interest to him. So if they're talking about, what is it, the recent soap opera or whatever episode, he will completely talk over them about anything else. So it's not going to be hard to listen in on Ripper and get a good sense of what conversation topics will work and which ones will not. Now, at some point, of your 3 checks to impress Ripper, it has to involve a grand gesture. Players can come up with something on their own. If they're struggling, however, the book does list if a crew member wins a fight in the arena, that would impress. It has to be one of the people, obviously, that are meeting Ripper. If you buy Ripper and his hanger-ons a round of drinks, that's a grand gesture, which I can see, at least for some crews, that being just a natural thing. That they would do. It was hey, I'm going to talk to you, let me buy you and your group a round of drinks. I can see that being super, super straightforward.
Yeah, I would get that check for free.
You would. 100%. I was Wraith would do this instantly. Which is really cool. In which case, that's just an easy check. They did it. It's fine. If you beat Ripper, you can try to beat Ripper in a drinking contest. Or if you move his party to a private booth on the 1st level. That's another grand gesture of impressing him. Now, when the crew has successfully completed impressing him 3 times, Ripper is the one who suggests they exchange numbers. So that is the moment, like, the meet is good, it's set. Anything after that is like that the pressure is off, they can just RP. From there, after the meet, right, next day, however long it's going to take, the crew does need to obtain a map of the Night City utility tunnels in order to confuse Ripper during navigation. And then you're going to need some pre-war cyber tech to show and give Ripper. It's possible your players aren't too invested in getting those items, or you may want to speed things along, in which case, Harry the Shrimp will get it for you. She will just straight up obtain it, and you don't have to worry about it. However, if you want to do these steps, if your players really like, the heist from the Devil's Cut, and they like doing these little moments, and it doesn't say you could do it as a montage, I'd say you could probably do it as a montage. By all means, go for it. For the map, the best source is Ziggurat, obviously, because they have their network all across the city. Their service teams carry agents with preloaded maps. Now, getting a service team to appear isn't difficult. Obtaining the map is a little more tricky. If the Edge has a breacher, they can hack the agent and steal the file. Otherwise, they need to steal one of the agents from the service team and crack it with a DV-17 electronics security tech check and 4 hours of work. If hacking isn't in your skill set, just a reminder the crew does know a couple of techs. Backhand specifically is particularly good with hacking agents. And seeing as you're helping the Hope get revenge, they're not going to charge it. You just have to bring in the agent. As for cybertech, Harry knows that Mr. Kernighan owns a sealed crate of optical sensors, Myanmar fibers, and neural processors, complete with the 2022 customs tags. And she knows he will trade it for an all-original engine for Cometa, one of the first racing AVs ever built. If you can get him this engine, he will also have the only functional flying AV in Night City. Or racing AV, this Cometa racing AV in Night City. So, huge thing for Mr. Hay. The engine is in the Haywood Industrial District's port. The crew can either bribe with monies or favors, call in favors, use misdirections, or whatever, get in and drive the container out, or they can hijack the transport as it is traveling from the port to a small airport in the Badlands where it's going to be shipped to Seattle. So hijack.
Can I pause you here?
Stealth steal. Engine, good luck. There's not a lot of description on the port. You have to make it up.
You, as the storyteller, would have to wrangle people in. I could see just this section being an entire session, if not more.
Yep. That's why it was like 6 to 8 hours. This could take a while.
But if you're doing the forward route, I could see you doing it in 6.
Yeah. Also, if you just got Harry to get it for you, 6.
That saves you so much time.
Done.
Yeah.
And again, I would do it as a montage, right? Like the main part of the story is taking down Ripper. It's not doing this heist for an engine. That's just kind of a thing to get the thing that you actually need. So if you want to slow the story down and play every single bit of this, fine. I would do it as a montage, personally. Or at the very least, if you wanted to be a little quicker, I would do a hijack of the transport, because that's like chase rules. You could set up an ambush,
right? Chase
rule it. Also, flash of luck. It's heist. It's gone. It works. Once they have their map and they have their cyber tech, a few days later, the Edgerunner, whoever's playing the boss, can call Ripper and feed him the story and arrange a meeting. And now, even if Harry got those parts, if you decided ahead of time, like, Harry can just get the stuff, you could just skip to the section. You don't have to worry about contacting Ziggurat and stealing an agent and hacking it, or stealing an engine and then making a trade with Mr. K. Like, it's all hand-waved. As you arrange a meeting with Ripper, it is a very, very simple DV9 conversation check.
Which should be a walk in the park for you.
But I would let the boss RP it out, because that's like a good RP moment, right? Now, at the meeting with Ripper, the boss obviously has to be present. Has to be. The assistant should be there. Could be, should be. Any security, or aka the hustle, can also be there. It does say the guide and the expert can also attend. I'm going to say if the crew hasn't made the best impression, or if the conversation went poorly, or if you think Ripper might be on edge, I personally would cut the guide and expert from this meeting. Bring up their expertise in the meeting of like, oh, I think we could get this, I've got some guys, I'll pay for it. Because I want to make sure we get there without problems and we're getting the best goods. They don't have to be at the meeting here. I would give bonus points if whoever's playing the boss can get Ripper to suggest those things himself. And make it think like it was his idea. Sure. Yeah, all the better. But say your crew kind of accidentally insulted Ripper at the red line before the grand, like maybe they succeeded, but maybe they also kind of, insulted him here or there. Maybe it didn't go fully great, but they still managed to get the task. That may affect his performance here.
How much he trusts you. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because for all of his psychotic nature, Ripper isn't stupid.
Yeah.
And he expects people...
survive this long in the hot zone.
And where he is conniving and skimming off the top and betraying his gang members, he expects other people to have their own schemes and to betray him. So his innocence, his paranoia is actually really well founded. So keep that in mind. Now you're going to arrange the meeting in an empty but furnished office in the upper marina that Harry has supplied. If the crew wants to spruce up the place, and I suggest that they do have some time to do so, because you've got it for, I think, like 3 hours. Your meeting should not take 3 hours. No. But in order to make it, like, look appropriate, have them make skill checks as needed. Obvious things that are missing from the space is anything that ties it to Jack Skrzydowski real estate. You were supposed to be the construction manager for that real estate company. If there's no logos or anything, that may be a problem. Now, a fixer can acquire stationery or signs via trading. The players can craft them with forgery if they want. You could also always just call Jack and ask. Jack is a friend of the Hope.
Chances are you're friends with him by now.
Yeah, I was like, one, Jack is a friend of the Hope. He will help you if somehow you haven't, left a good impression. But if the Bozo thing went well and a bunch of other, and you chatted with him at the party, and you have a good rapport with Jack, Jack will just help you. Just call him.
Yep.
Remind your players to call him if they're, struggling. Finally, they can make a bureaucracy or business check at DV13, and that will help make the office feel more lived in or legit. And I thought that was really nice because you don't get to see bureaucracy or business checks happen very often, same with forgery, so I'm always kind of like, for these skills.
Always good to see.
Unless they're used. Now, eventually, the meeting will have to begin. The players, again, you only have like a 3-hour block. Now, today, Ripper is sober. He's not on drugs, but he is impatient. He will arrive alone, but he has 1 digger guard per edge runner waiting outside. If anything goes sideways, he will call them. Also, and I probably should have mentioned this beforehand, if Harry explains this con and all these steps are necessary, and your edge runners are like, no, we don't want to do all this work, let's go to the hot zone and murder him, then you just jump to bullets are easier. And you follow the storyline with balance. Just FYI. If they come to the meeting at the red line and Ripper gets on edge and for some reason leaves, you may have to go to the fight and go bullets or simpler route.
Yep.
Just as a note. Okay, so Ripper has his guards aside. He will call them if things go sideways. He will demand introductions to anyone he doesn't know. So if you've brought in the experts here, for sure, you have to make those introductions, and he will demand them. And then he's going to launch into a series of questions. How big is the hall? Why him? How can he be sure this isn't a scam? Etc., etc. He is paranoid. He's expecting you to stab him in the back. He demands 90% of the take, since he's going to be taking all the risk. If the crew agrees, Ripper's going to get real suspicious. To make it convincing,
nobody accepts 90%.
They need to act like the salvage is real. You guys found this information. You want the salvage as much as him. You're not going to give 90% of it away to some guy. Obviously, you know it doesn't exist, but you want him to think it's real. No one's going to give up 90%. If they do not negotiate something far more reasonable, he doesn't believe this is a real job. And I believe instantly he will call his diggers because something is up. He knows something is up.
Yeah.
Now, overall, in this section, this meeting, the crew needs to succeed 2 checks. First is the bargain, which is an imposed trading check to haggle with Ripper. So again, if your boss is a fixer, this is going to help you here. Everybody has trading, so it's not a big deal. It's just fixers get to add their operator rank to it. If they fail this, there's no chance Ripper believes that this is real. Now, if they get through the bargain, the haggle, then they need to convince him that this is legit. Right? And that's going to be an opposed acting persuasion check against his human perception. It shouldn't be too hard. His human perception, depending on which stat you're using, is either a 4 or an 8. You should be okay.
Right. It is not high. Yeah.
Now, to help, the crew gets a +1.
But no matter what, you have to sell it to the mark.
Yes. To help, the crew gets a +1 up to a maximum of +3 to these checks for each task performed to disguise the office and make the setting more convincing. Now, I don't think it says anything here, but if you have the cyber tech and are showing him, I would also give that as a bonus. Like an additional bonus on top of things. Like, this is legit, here is the crate that we got from the truck.
Yeah.
Now, if the crew fails, the best outcome is that Ripper just walks away angry. You know? So maybe he doesn't call the guards. If you agree to 90%, he's like, no, fuck you, this is a scam, and he just walks out. Which is great, because then you go to bullets are easier. Good luck in the hot zone. At worst, he does call his backup, and a fight will break out. So the crew, at this point, can flatline Ripper right here, right now. They may choose to let him run to fight him in the hot zone. If they do kill him here, you get to skip a bunch of stuff and go to the not-so-great ending. If they let Ripper run...
But you finish it early.
But you finished it early, yeah. If you let Ripper run, then you go to the hot zone, bullets or simpler route. If you succeed, which is ideally what you want to do because you took this mission, then you get to proceed with the con. Now, Ripper, you're not going to head out straight away.
That's the biggest make or break moment.
Yeah.
For the con.
One of the biggest ones, yeah.
I would say that's the backbone. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can get over that hurdle, you're doing okay.
There's still another hurdle that could.
Right. Yeah.
There's still a lot of hurdles that could tip him off.
Screw everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, this is the one that if you fail here, then like it's just game over on that. You have to go the other way.
Yeah. If you fail here, you have to go the other way. Also, if you failed at the red line, you have to go the other way. Yeah. So I mean, really.
Yeah.
But you haven't like failed, right? So yeah, so to say how much time passes between that meeting and the next bit, Ripper's not going to want to head out straight away, right? You've convinced him. He's still going to need to get enough diggers, and he's still going to need to get the tools to get into, locations. So you have time, clean up the office, meet with Harry. For the next bit, Harry has located a building with sewer access in the upper marina near the hot zone border. There's a bunch of switchbacks in the tunnels to help make it look like the crew is moving towards the hot zone. Instead, it twists and goes back on itself and will lead to the Rockland's secret facility. Now, to sell the ruse, Harry has hired bodies and coveralls to pretend to be Jack's construction crew. They're just going to move things around. They're going to be measuring things. They're going to pretend to be security, etc. The foreman is going
background extras.
Yep, pretty much, to help sell the ruse. There is going to be like a guy with a clipboard. You're just going to like bribe him, in quotes, to get access to the tunnel. Personally, by the way, I think this is a great use of NPC/GM help to get through certain aspects while still making the crew do the heavy lifting. Did the crew need to find actors to help sell this ruse? No. No. Even if Harry got the other 2 bits of the map and the cyber tech and help arrange these background actors, the crew is still doing the heavy lifting in this job. So I think like there's a lot of times where as a GM you might think, well, it's the player's story, they should be doing this. It's okay to help with stuff like this. They are still the stars of this story and making it forward.
Right. Don't create roadblocks where there don't need to be them for the story.
Yep. Now the crew still needs to sell the story while they're on site. And as Harry reminds them, they're going to need to have to distract Digger enough while they walk through the tunnels to keep him from noticing they aren't going into the hot zone. Digger, one of his really good skills is mapping and navigation and knowing the path to the hot zone. So if you let him pay attention, he's going to know. She also will inform the crew to be careful with the Diggers. They are loyal to Ripper, but only out of fear. And if things go south, it's better for them. Like she says, it's better for you guys if the Diggers run than fight you. Because less bullets firing at you is always a better option. So don't give the Diggers a reason to dislike you.
Right.
Now with this info, whatever the crew and the Ripper have planned to meet, it's go time. You can just jump to that. At the building, the actors are going to greet the boss. Right? Really make it look like it's the part. Ripper will arrive 10 minutes later. Red-eyed and twitchy. I like this sentence. Red-eyed and the kind of twitchy that comes from multiple drugs tipping his mood in different directions. Now, when parked, he's going to open the rear door. Group of the Diggers come out, which this may be the first time your crew has seen the Diggers. They are desperate. They're unwashed. They are starving. Street rats. Like, he has warned these people down, and it should be very clear that these Diggers are not well cared for.
Yep.
There's going to be 1 Digger worker for every adjourner present. They cluster together. They don't talk to outsiders. They don't make eye contact. Meanwhile, Ripper's going to straight up walk to whoever was the boss and to get this job started because he wants to get rich, right? The worker with the clipboard will lead the crew, Ripper and Diggers, to the sewer entrance. After receiving his bribe, of course. Ripper is going to follow the crew into the tunnels with an LED headband, lighting his way. And he spends his time between watching the edge runners like a hawk, pushing around the Diggers, and of course bragging about his success with Maelstrom, because Ripper is nothing if not egotistical. For note, about 5 minutes of traveling, agents will lose signal due to being underground. And can no longer act as communication devices or connect to the net. So if you planned anything...
Which helps sell the whole hot zone thing.
It does sell the whole hot zone thing, but if you planned on calling for backup, or if you have backup as part of your mission, they need to start following you into the tunnels after a good chunk of time has passed. Or be waiting inside because you will not be able to call them.
Nope.
Now, remember, Ripper is watching the edge runners. He's also paying attention to the intersections, mapping out the tunnels in his mind, looking for signs that things aren't on the upper and up because he is paranoid. So he will be looking around. He will pause at intersections and stuff. So while traveling, you have to give the crew 5 opportunities to distract him, and they need to succeed at 3 in order to get to the warehouse. Now, some environmental obstacles that the crew may need to conceal or distract Ripper from are ziggurat logos on junction boxes, working power cables that, because these are supposedly abandoned tunnels, so that could be a problem. Just general things, and the book does list things that you can talk to him about. If somebody flirted with him back at the bar, a flirt check is probably fine as like one of those, you can continue that. Now the skill checks are against Ripper's concentration skill, and there's an added challenge that no skill check will work twice. Yep. So however you're trying to distract him, you cannot use the same ruse twice. Something, or he will notice. If the entrance fails 2 checks, Ripper believes something's up, you're going to need to act in your persuasion check against his human perception to make him believe otherwise. If you succeed, he will continue, but all future distraction checks are at a -2. On a 3rd fail check, Ripper notices something is up and just opens fire on Will, along with his diggers. However, if he takes even a single point of damage, he runs and leaves the diggers to finish off the crew. So unless you give them a successful DP-17 social check, like it was in the other pathway, the diggers will fight to the death. If the crew ends Ripper in the tunnels, you get the not-so-great ending. Otherwise, the crew can try something else. Maybe they did put backup at the entrance to the tunnels to ambush Ripper if he tries to leave, if something goes wrong. Otherwise, guess what? You're going to the hot zone.
And I would make the hot zone the harder path at this point.
Oh, yeah. I'd even put, more diggers, in play. At the building.
Yeah.
And him even more paranoid, watching cameras, where if you turn the cameras off in the maze, he knows.
Yeah, that triggers him.
Now, if they succeed their distractions and make it to Rockland's building, you get to continue the con, which is the vault raid. The crew will point out where the wall kind of changes. Ripper will just, get his diggers to work. After 5 minutes, they create a hole big enough for a net runner to connect to the net architecture. So the crew has options, right? The net runner can seize it to alert security, or ensure the cameras fixate on Ripper and no one else. After 10 minutes, the diggers open a hole large enough for people to get through. Ripper orders half his diggers to go and look around, demanding what they find. And when they call back and there's tons of stuff, it's a whole warehouse full, only then will Ripper go into the warehouse. So, if your crew's oh no, we'll bring him to some abandoned thing, it ain't gonna work. Now, if Ripper noticed the crew distracting him earlier or is otherwise suspicious, an edge runner may need to go in and drag some stuff out to kickstart Ripper's greed and lure him inside. Otherwise, once the diggers call out that there's tons of stuff, Ripper will go readily. He will also call on the crew to enter and help, and will grow suspicious if they stay outside. So to keep this ruse going, you're going to have to go into the warehouse. Now, if the plan is to trap him, all you need to do is mislead, evade, and get him in there while you guys stay on the outside and plan your own escape. If all you're trying to do is get him caught on camera, you guys just need to know where the camera is so that you weren't seen. Unless hacked to do otherwise, the camera covers the door, and every minute spent inside, you as the GM will roll a d10 on an even roll. Ripper steps in front of the camera. On an odd result, though, he won't. So but it's every minute. As long as he's caught once, you're good. And at the very least, one of Ripper's diggers will step in front of the camera roughly a minute after entering the storeroom, which will alert the demon in the net architecture who trips the silent alarm. I'm going to say unless your net runner is in control. Now, 3 minutes later of the silent alarm, a Rockland Augmentics Rapid Response Squad shows up. Now, if you do have your net runner, they have control, they can trigger the silent alarm at any point. They will also be able to see the ETA of the response team's arrival. So from here, obviously the crew can decide if they leave with Ripper and just let him be seen on camera, or if they plan on trapping him there for the strike team to take him out. So the climax is the flip. And the climax here is essentially planning for you to get the strike team into the building. If the crew tries to stealth out unnoticed to trap him from the response team, it does have to be his perception. If he does notice, he does ask why. So as long as, you know, you do half decent job with a lie, you're probably fine, because he is so focused on the fact that there is so much in this warehouse. Like,
he's finally bought into the job, and
yeah, he constantly explains that there's so damn much. Now, to trap him, they can do so with a DV-15 demolitions check in order to attach a grenade to the hole that was made. Success does collapse the hole. It does trap anyone in the vault on the vault side. If they fail, it does seal the hole still, but it partially collapses the tunnel, so everyone takes 46 damage from falling debris as they escape. Okay? Doing this, you're also likely trapping the diggers and forcing them to deal with the wrath of Rockland. Now, if your players, this is my note, this is not in the book, if your players want to try to save the diggers, let them. Have them try to persuade the diggers to take the loot into the tunnels using the same DV-17 social check as it would be to persuade them not to fight. If Ripper notices, asks why, come up with a plausible lie. I wouldn't say that, you know, they're like, oh, so they can stay outside and guard it. Guarding shouldn't be a thing because you're in abandoned tunnels, so probably not going to work. But then again, Ripper is super focused on there's so damn much here that you might be okay. Whatever lie you want to face, you can. I would say if your players are trying to do this, let them. Now, at the end of 3 minutes...
Yeah, there's not a lot of humanity in the time of the red, so if your characters decide they want to do the humane thing, let them.
Let them. I would, absolutely. Now, at the end of the 3 minutes from the straight from the silent alarm being trapped, whoever's inside the vault gets to deal with a squad of 6 heavy corporate guards who are not there to talk or take prisoners. They start with 3 flashbangs and then open fire.
Yep.
That's it. Diggers and Ripper will fire back. The Diggers will fight to the death unless convinced to do otherwise. Ripper will put anyone between him and the guards as he tries to run. The guards will not pursue you into the tunnels, so if you can get out, you can get out. If Ripper gets out, Ripper gets out. Now, if everyone leaves, whether planned or not, so long as Ripper was caught on camera, he is done for. Rockland will send people to make him disappear. And Warlock wants his head, because Ripper was dealing behind his back. And of course, brought the wrath of Megacorp down on them unsanctioned. So, you're good. If he is trapped, if you trap him in the vault, he will die. The squad will take him out. He cannot handle them, so you're fine. And success is yours. So from here, you generally get the good ending if you succeeded in catching him on camera, or letting the squad deal with him. Either way, succeed. The Hope isn't implicated. Vengeance has been served. Well done, June.
Good job.
Yeah, even if he runs, if he was caught on camera, you succeed, and it will implicate the Hope. So either way, you succeed the con.
Yep.
And that's the other path. There's a lot more steps. It's a lot more subterfuge.
The harder path.
I don't know if it's necessarily harder. It's just a lot more... There's a lot more pieces to it. But if your players prefer stealth and subterfuge and RP, and they are not combat focused, this is the path to go. If your players have min-maxed for combat, send them to the hot zone.
Yep, for sure.
So it's really up to how they have, what their preferences are, how they have spec'd, and whether or not they succeeded, right? Because again, if they let Ripper get away and any part of this con falls apart, chances are they're headed to the hot zone. A few other things I want to talk about before we conclude this is that in the sidebars there are a couple of notes about what to do if your players, or if you have a player who's an exec who works for Rockland, or if you have a player who's associated with Maelstrom. And it answers those questions for you. Additionally, there's a bigger section called Flexibility, which is a catch-all to say that there's only so many pages for the mission, and the players may come up with something completely new. Right? They may pursue the Rocklands angle to dig for dirt to turn Maelstrom against Ripper, in which case the con is kind of setting up a sting to buy, right? An undercover buy for the cash, record it, and turn that info over to Warlock to be like, look at this dude dealing behind your back. Or they could try and steal...
take care of the problem.
Yeah. Or they could try and steal the files that outline Rockland's dealings with Ripper. The files can be in the warehouse, so you still need to get the tunnel information. You just don't have to do the ruse of going through them. You still have to break into the warehouse, that's fine. Or if they find the information that, Ripper being so paranoid probably keeps records, they will still have to climb his tower. They just have to do it when he's not there. Yep. Right? So on the day that he's at the red line, you still go through the hot zone mission, you just don't have to deal with a good chunk of stuff. You probably still have to deal with Skippy, because I'm pretty sure he does not bring Skippy to the red line. No. So whatever the crew plans on doing, whatever route would be enjoyable for them, whatever, crazy idea they come up with, use these two options as a template to decide on DVs and obstacles that are similar.
This gives you enough information, you'll be able to patch it in.
Exactly. That fits what they want to do. So yeah, that is Ripping the Ripper.
Yep.
What are our final thoughts on this? Oh, I should say the endings, by the way. The bad ending, quote unquote, is that
which is only possible through the con. The direct combat route says to go skip that section and go directly to the second resolution.
Even if Ripper gets away?
Yeah.
Really?
Because Max Tac or NCPD or Maelstrom's going to take care of him.
Interesting. I suppose, though, if Ripper...
which I found really weird.
I guess if Ripper flatlines you, then you don't know what happens to the Hope.
Right.
No, that's fair. Yeah, if your crew was caught on camera, or if at any point you kill Ripper outside of the vault, like if you kill him and are seen killing him, then it could imply the Hope, which could cause some blowback. But really, the ending is Marianne's concerned about it, but here's some food and some drinks and enjoy. If you do it well, then it's like, yay, no one's coming after us, party, and here's food and drinks and enjoy.
And then there's a short paragraph that you just finished this entire book.
Yeah.
And that's it.
But I will say, if you're going to continue the campaign, maybe the Hope was implied. That could be a future plot point. It's really up to you.
Right.
I mean, with Ripper going to be probably killed either way, or if Warlock comes up trying to be like, hey, what's going on, you could still try to get the evidence after. And that's the thing, right? If your crew killed Ripper, if they tried the con and they killed Ripper outside where he was seen, they could still go and get those files from his tower, right? Or wherever,
which could still resolve,
decide to hide it,
any problems they're having. Yeah.
If they go to his tower and they see that he's crazy and they get the proof for Warlock, that will spare Marianne any complications. So that just becomes a new storyline that you have to tell when the information's still in the book. You just put it in a new gig. So.
Yep.
Overall, I think Frank did a great job of outlining two different paths. I don't think 8 hours is enough for the con job if they do every single step.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Personally, I think you're looking at more.
For sure.
But I like that there's an option at the conclusion for crews that aren't combat oriented.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure I like this as an ending for Hope Reborn.
Really?
Yeah. His reason for everything at the beginning, just being like, oh, they saved some people, feels really thin to me. Like, story-wise, it's a fantastic story and I love it. But it feels thin why the bad guy is doing it. But every blockbuster film is the same way. You look at the actual reason why the bad guy's doing what they're doing, and there's never a good enough reason. So
you got to remember, Ripper's egotistical and thinks he's better than everybody, and
has a god complex.
How dare someone try to steal his slaves from him? No one steals slaves from Ripper without facing consequences.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think
that's my only issue.
I don't know if I have an issue with this being the end of it, though I kind of get what you're saying. Like, this does kind of bookend the whole, destruction of the Hope, this is why, let's complete it. But I'd almost want to put this between Welcome to the Neighborhood and Hope's Calling, where you're given that month of downtime before they open, and while they're waiting to open, be like, here's the person, go deal with them. You're going to need 2 weeks of healing afterwards, and then the grand opening where everything can go wrong.
I think, the Red Chrome thing is in Hope's Calling is a much better ending to this arc to me.
And the mass combat and
and the chance. I
of
still
losing
love
the
the
Hope
story.
again.
Don't get me wrong. I just which would bookend the story so completely.
Yeah, because if you screw up and that firebomb goes off and you let the Hope die a second time, it's not getting rebuilt. I think that, I agree with you. I think I would move Hope's Calling. I would flip Hope's Calling and ripping the Ripper around.
Yeah.
Now, granted, at the same time, if you wanted to do Hope's Calling and have that as your campaign end, and then do a couple sessions of street stories, a couple of script sheets, and then it's 4 months down the road, hey, we finally found out who did this. And in addition,
callback to the previous stuff.
And in addition, they're continuing to take people. Then I think that there's enough space between that where it's more its own contained story than being part of this campaign.
Yeah.
I think I also forgot to mention something that I thought about while I was talking just then, and now it's caught out of my brain again. How do I do that?
I don't know.
When you
I do it constantly.
When you get the information from Ripper, or about Ripper too, Harry has borrowed the files from Danger Gal Dossier, and it does give you a file. It's the exact same stuff that you actually get in the Danger Gal Dossier book on Ripper, which I thought was really, really cool. And props for consistency for that. So
for sure.
But yeah, I think I agree with you. I didn't like this as well as an ending for the Hope story as much as I would have liked Hope's Calling. So if you're just going to do these, just these, I would flip 4 and 5, or 5 and 6, which is not Welcome to the Neighborhood, because Welcome to the Neighborhood is 3, isn't it?
3.
What the hell was 4?
Yeah. I just closed
the Devil's
book,
Cut.
so I can't tell you.
The Devil's Cut, the heist for the alcohol.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, if they were caught on camera and they're trying to lay low, you could totally do ripping the Ripper while they're trying to lay low, especially if you're going to the hot zone.
Yep. Because you're fairly safe in the hot zone.
Yeah, nobody's going to notice you, and then after you take all that damage from Environmental, Skippy, and the Ripper, you're going to need 2 weeks of time to heal anyway, so you're definitely going to be laying low.
For sure.
So yeah, I would set this off after Devil's Cut, probably.
Yep.
Otherwise, I really enjoyed it, and I like that there's both 2 major bosses the combat route.
Yeah.
And with that, I think that will conclude this episode of Knights of the Sofa. So thank you guys so much for joining us for our in-depth review. If you found it helpful, please click the like button so the algorithm knows to show this video to more chooms who may find this helpful. While you're at it, maybe consider subscribing.
And if you run this series of stories, comment. Tell us how it went.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear.
Very curious to know, how your crew handled everything. At
what point they fell off the con path and ended up on the combat path.
I could see that happening so quickly. Knights of the Sofa will return in 2 weeks. Where we will be, I'm going to take a week off next week, and then we'll be talking about the July DLC very briefly, before discussing what order we would run the pre-written modules and scream sheets if we were using all of them to build up a campaign.
Yep.
In the meantime, if you want more content from the HQ while you wait, head to YouTube, where you will get caught up on all the videos. Give them an extra watch. Let the algorithm love us.
So many videos.
Or you can head on over to Patreon and check out the homebrew that's been released. I haven't released any in a couple months. I do apologize for that. Things have just been not had the spoons to write. But there is
you've been doing 40 games in 40 days, so
yeah. But there is 6, 12, I think, ish homebrews out there you can check out. Let me know if you enjoyed them. And with that, unless Games has anything else that I haven't covered.
Love you guys.
And until next time, for now.